Gary, welcome to the podcast.
Welcome to Technosocial, as we call it. That's our name.
Cool.
Going forward.
So why don't you introduce yourself?
Right, my name's Gary Dean. I'm the CEO and founder of a company called Collective Dynamics, and I'm currently building a mobile app for quizzing. So basically, it's a multimedia quiz with edits of songs, movies, and images of famous faces for people to guess. And it has speech recognition for answering, and a chat room for people to socialise in. And it also has cash prizes and real prizes too. So the idea is that as you play the game, when you get questions right, you gain a thing called Quizl coins, which you can then collect up and swap out for real prizes in an area of the game called the Vault. This is where brands can advertise their products. So you can see all these cool tech stuff. We've already got a couple of, one definite product in, a couple we're looking at. Don't want to say them till they're secured.
Sure.
But the idea is that there's loads of really cool tech stuff like headphones and phones and just tech. It's mainly going to be focused at the sort of stuff people are interested in. And then you can collect your coins up and then swap that out for that when you get enough coins. So rather than just playing a game pointlessly and getting achievements and getting awards and stuff like that, you'll actually be able to translate your quizzing knowledge into a prize.
Where did the idea for this come from?
Okay, so originally the original idea started 30 years ago, before the age of the internet and mobile phones.
And us.
Make myself sound really old now.
Just a twinkle in our parents' eyes, like.
Okay, so originally, when I was 18 years old, I tried to start up a magnetic jigsaw company called Sticky Jigs. And I was trying to get £3.5 million investment at 18 years old.
Bold.
Yeah, well. And I managed to negotiate distribution across 10 European countries, and I had artwork deals sorted out with like Warner Brothers, Disney, BBC, Tate Gallery, and other people too. We had a product line. We had three different size of puzzle backings and 8 different puzzle sizes, and got all this stuff sorted out, but never quite managed to achieve the finance. So after a lot of time and effort and money, that sort of died a death. And at the time I was thinking, what else can I do? I need something else to do, because obviously creatively the jigsaws weren't going to sort of satisfy me long term. So like I say, this was before the age of technology. And in that time, years ago, people used to play a lot of board games. And I always thought that they're called board games because they're really boring. So like when you play Trivial Pursuit, there's like 6 people playing. Yeah. And you take it in turns answering questions. So you're only active for a sixth of the time. So in an hour, you're actually only playing for 10 minutes, which is why people get really bored playing them.
Yeah, of course. That is actually a very interesting deconstruction of Trivial Pursuit. You're only playing the game for like the brief amount of time that you're thinking and then getting wrong the question. Like.
Yeah, and it's like Monopoly is like a perfect example, isn't it? It's so laborious. And having said that, my daughter does love Monopoly now, but I think it's a retro thing. It's like
collecting records.
And then also you have Monopoly is probably my favorite example of sort of weird marketing, because Monopoly is supposed to be a bad game. It's intentionally poorly designed. Yeah. Because it was actually designed by a Quaker in the USA, a lady, with the intention of demonstrating why private property doesn't work as a concept.
Oh, really?
Because everyone starts everyone starts the game with the same amount of money and the same chances and the same thing of winning, the same probability of winning. And at the end of the game, everyone is broke except one person who owns everything.
It's a good metaphor for life, isn't it? That's how the world works, isn't it?
Literally. But then it's almost intended as a critique of like rent and ownership and stuff.
Yeah.
And
what's wrong with capitalism?
Yeah, exactly. And instead it's actually become like a symbol of capitalism, and people are getting like solid gold Monopoly boards.
It's an interesting point. Maybe it's time for someone to recreate Monopoly in a sort of socialist fashion, where it works the other way. Everyone starts off with loads of money and they have to try and give it away. It's an interesting idea. I'll spend some time on that.
Yeah, that can make an app
that does
it. Yeah. So basically, like I say, I had this thought that board games are very boring. How could you make them less boring? So the concept was that, when you see quiz shows on TV, everyone's engaged the whole time because they're all involved, and they all have an opportunity to buzz in. So I thought, how could you turn that pre-digital age into something interactive? So I concepted this idea for a pop quiz where you'd have a CD with lots of small edits of songs. And obviously, again, CD, that was the technology then.
Yeah.
So
spinning ones, yeah.
Yeah, an actual thing. So you could then hit random play. Obviously, you're stuck with just what's on that CD, but anyway. You'd hit random play, and then as soon as you... so the idea was that everyone would have, like a dog squeaky toy. You'd have like little ones of those, so everyone playing could have a little squeaker. And then if you knew what the song was, you could just buzz it in with your squeaker. And that was just a simple concept for the game. But due to the fact that puzzles went down the pan, I never eventually did anything with that either. So that sort of sat there for 30 years. And then last year, for years, my mum kept saying to me, why don't you get the puzzles going again? And I just had my fingers burnt so badly with it that for years I was just like, no, I'm not interested. And last year, it just suddenly dawned on me with the age of the internet and the power of the internet, how everything's changed. So then, when I was originally doing the puzzles, I was going out to source materials in places like Holland. And to do that then, you obviously had to make contact with someone over the phone. You had all language problems conversing with them. And then you'd set up a meeting. So then I'd have to go and get a ferry to Holland, drive halfway across Holland to go and have a meeting with them. Which I was thinking about it on the way here, actually. It had two different effects. So today, the saturation of the digital world is such that it's more difficult to make contact with people today because everyone you try and make contact with is being contacted by thousands of people constantly.
All the time.
So it gets lost in the noise. Whereas years ago, without sounding twee and that, you'd have a guy sat in a factory in Holland and he's thinking, how can I drum up business? And some guy from England rings him up and says, I want to make 400,000 puzzles. And he's instantly interested.
Yeah.
Because it's a business opportunity for him and there was no way he's going to make contact with you. And trying to sell yourself in that environment is a completely different world to today. So it was a lot easier. And again, like with the art deals and things like that, it was a lot easier then, even though it was logistically hard. So... Anyway, so obviously there were these constraints with manufacturing, just even within this country, I contacted people. So the original puzzles were made out of a steel sheet, a plastic covered steel sheet. And just making contact with people and getting samples and stuff was just so different. Just like the delivery networks we have today, we take for granted, you order something on Amazon, it's there the next day. If it's not there the next day, you're moaning.
It's insane that we take that for granted, right?
It's crazy.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
It's the silliest thing. Like, if you think about even, like, back when I was, like, young and we used to order stuff on the internet, and you'd still, like, it would be 2 weeks, and it'd be like, probably best to wait another week.
Yeah, it will turn up.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas now they give you, like, a tracking thing so you can see, like, exactly where in the process it is, just to stop you from freaking out. Like.
Yeah, and it will get faster. We know this with drones and stuff. It's just going to get crazy. But yeah, so, I mean, like, for example, once I had a lorry turn up at my house. I used to live in a cul-de-sac. This guy's knocked on the door and he's like, I've got some samples of this steel for you from this steel company.
Yeah.
And he'd turned up in like a huge HGV. And because my address was First Avenue, it sounded like it was on a business estate. And he's turned up there and it's just this little house, this little, suburban house. And he had to park around the corner and carry all this stuff round to me. But
This is when you were 18.
Yeah.
So
so it dawned on me that the world's a completely different place, with the likes of being able to get stuff manufactured in China. You can go online, find someone's website in China, contact them, give them specifications. They can quote you instantly, just through computers in itself. And just manufacturing, you can get stuff made in China, you can get it shipped from China. Everything is so much simpler. You have things like Shopify, so you don't even need a shop front, you don't need a warehouse, you literally need nothing. You can set up a business. And so I thought, I had a bit of an epiphany, and I thought, maybe I'm being stupid not doing the puzzle, so I thought I'm going to get it going again. So I spent quite a bit of time looking back into it, and I changed the design of it. I don't want to go too much into that because it's still a little pet project of mine.
Sure.
But I concepted this unique design of jigsaw piece which fits in any space, in any place. So like with a normal jigsaw puzzle, you're always, even though there's a picture, you're looking at the shape of the puzzle piece.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, so it has to. You're looking for a certain shape, that goes in that spot. I've designed a puzzle piece which is universal, so it then puts the onus on the picture. So it's all about the image. So you could put any piece in any spot and it'll fit.
Okay. So you kind of basically means you can't sort of cheat. Like you have to actually be looking at the.
It gives it a more difficult, a higher difficulty.
Yeah.
Because it's not just, with an old-fashioned puzzle, you'd match the picture to it and that, and then if it fitted, you knew it was the right piece, because only one piece is going to fit in that hole. But with what I've designed, it's complete. But anyway, that's another story. So I contacted this company called D2M, who do design and development. It's D2M stands for Design to Manufacture, and they can take you through the whole journey. And I'd contacted them to see if they could help me out because they had contacts in China for production. And obviously going to China just off your own bat's a bit of a minefield because you never know if you're just going to get ripped off and copied. And so I figured it might be best to make contact with someone who's got a good contact there. So anyway, he was spending a lot of time in China and was quite slow getting back to me. And while I was waiting for him to come back to me, I came across a company called Hyper Apps through Facebook who do prototype development. And I said to my wife, maybe I should go and have a chat with them about the idea for the music quiz. She's like, it's a really good idea. You should do it, as all wives would say. And so anyway, I'd arranged a meeting with them, and I was going to go and see them. And the day before, I was, you always have self-doubt. It's what makes us human. So,
pre-mission nerves.
Yeah.
That's what I call it.
So literally the day before, I'm thinking to myself, that's a really crap idea. I'm going to go and they're going to be like, yeah, that's just rubbish. And that'll be that. And so I was thinking, maybe I won't go. Shall I go? Shall I not go? And on the day I thought, well, sod it. I'm very much a believer in seize that moment. If you go and they don't like it, you've not lost anything, have you? Other than your time that day.
Yeah.
What are you going to do otherwise? I've had this conversation with someone recently before I joined the Founder Institute course, and they were like, I don't know whether to join or not. And I was like, well, what are you going to do for the next 10 weeks if you don't join? So I think very much in life is just a series of opportunities, whether that's business or personal or anything. And the key to life is to seize every opportunity. Because we're just here for experience. That's all our purpose in life is to experience. And if you say no to stuff, don't complain when your life's really shit and boring. Because, when your mate rings you up and they're like, do you want to go for a drink? And you're like, maybe not. You never know what might happen that night.
I think
so
it's kind of just like a game we're playing, and we don't really know what the rules are.
Absolutely.
But you know that if you kind of try and create within the game, then things kind of come back because you collaborate with others. You create a space for somebody else.
Well, it might not. Exactly. It might not even be you that has the amazing thing, but by you going somewhere, you could create something for someone else.
Absolutely.
So we're a collective experience, and I very much believe that everything you do in life, the more energy and effort you put into life, the more you'll get out of it. That's why I haven't got a TV. So
I find it interesting as someone who's like a designing an app and yet you don't have a TV. Do you use game apps at all yourself?
I do, yeah. If you looked at my phone, I've got it off now, but if you looked at my phone, I've probably got more apps than anyone you've ever met in your life.
For real?
Yeah, because with iPhones, you can put them in folders.
Yeah.
I've probably got about 60 folders with different stuff in. So, like, the games folder has probably got about 80 games in it. There's a lot of apps on my phone.
Yeah.
Obviously, you don't use them all the time, but I'm quite a kleptomaniac. I can't really get rid of stuff.
But, there are so many things now trying to claim our attention.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
definitely, especially with gaming and stuff like that.
Especially I've noticed on YouTube, they've clocked on to sort of how you advertise a game app. Well, in the 5-second YouTube advert, you just show someone playing the app.
Yeah.
And then you just make the app really sort of satisfying looking, with lots of very satisfying sort of clicky nice noises and lots of instant progression.
Yeah.
And then in those 5 seconds, someone will become hooked even though they've not actually played it. They just see someone else play it.
Right.
And I have to really resist the urge. I see all of these and I'm like, oh, that looks like it would be cool to play. And then I'm like, nope. If I download that one, I'll download the next one, and then the next one, and the next one, and the next one, because it's almost like a deconstruction of a game to what is it that just makes your brain be like, oh yeah, this is nice.
Okay,
and
so
it's just instant reward.
So I don't know if you've heard of a guy called Nir Eyal. He's an American guy.
You mentioned him when we spoke before.
Yeah, he wrote a book called Hooked, and it's all about the addictive loop of apps and games, and how companies use a hook loop to get you engaged, and then for you to have an investment in something, and then there's a reward, and then there's a trigger which brings you back into the game. So all of those notifications and stuff like that, that's all designed to keep this loop going. Especially nothing more so than social media. You're constantly being alerted of posts and stuff like that. And that's an amazing book. I'd definitely recommend anybody reading that book. Even if you're not interested in building an app, it definitely helps you understand how you're being manipulated. But obviously, as someone designing an app, it was a massive eye-opener because, I just loved that book. I devoured it, and I've incorporated pretty much the whole of his book into what I've built.
What are some of the core ideas that you've really taken?
So the thing is I've probably taken it to a bit of an extreme. So with I said I wasn't going to do that, didn't I?
You said before with the ankle,
So the thing is like I say, there's many different parts of the book, and it talks about triggers and rewards and stuff in quite a subtle way. And just what you were saying just then about apps made me think about the reason one of the reasons I've gone with the design I have. A few years ago, it dawned on me that the amount of times you spend playing games is like lost time, isn't it?
Yeah.
It might be entertaining, but a lot of games is, and again, coming back to the investment part of that loop. Yeah. So there's a game I play called Real Racing, and I've been playing it for years. And it's massive. It's a huge game. It's got endless races and all this different stuff. And the longer you're involved in something like that, the bigger the investment you've got in it. So when I look through games, when I'm bored and I'm looking through for a game to play, that's one of the first things I think of, because you've got this 2 or 3 year progression that you've built into the game, and it makes you come back. But it dawned on me that everyone spends a lot of time playing these games. My pet hate is Candy Crush. Yeah. I don't understand why grown adults are playing a game that looks like something for a 5-year-old. I just don't get it.
My stepmom recently went to Candy Crush HQ because she's so high in the level. She's in that
really?
class of players.
That's crazy.
Really? What? That's so insane.
So to me, I don't get it. I understand why people do it, but to me, it just doesn't make any sense. And so there was a period of quite a few years ago now when I was like, right, I'm not. I think it was Angry Birds that really pissed me off more than again, it's a game that brilliantly built that investment in, that you'd be getting through these levels and then they kept adding bits and that, and you're like, shit, I've got to do that bit now.
Yeah.
And I just thought, why am I doing this? There must be something better I could do with my time. And I actually got into doing Forex trading instead, because I thought, it's no different, is it? If you look at Forex trading, it's like a game. Yeah, you put a bet on, you stake a claim, and then you watch it, it goes up, goes down, and I just thought, surely it would make more sense to sort of spend your time doing something like that. And you still get the same like investment and rewards scenario, but you may get something back out of it at the end of it.
Yeah, you might even make some money. Time. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So that's something that so just going back to what I was saying, so I approached HyperApps.
Yeah.
Discussed the idea with them, and they were like, "This is like really exciting. We really like it." The main guy from Hyper was saying to me that a guy called Tom West, he was really focused on HQ, the quiz at the time, and I'd never heard of HQ at this point. I'd obviously had a little look into other quizzes that are about, and there's another quiz. I'll name drop it. It's called Pop Quiz. It's awful. It's they've got like, again, it looks like a kid's app. The design of the interface is just bright colours. Anyway, so it's just really crap, and it has like multiple choice questions. So you'll get like a sample of a song, and then it will give you 4 choices. And the thing is if you hear a song, then you sort of might know it. But then when you get the 4 choices come up, then you obviously know it then, because you'll think, oh yeah, it was that. Which to me just wasn't entertaining at all. It's just really just a bit crap. So I could see that there wasn't really anything like that out there, like what I wanted to build. And he was explaining to me about HQ, like they've got a presenter, and it's like a live quiz, and people are like, in the States there's like millions of people playing this every night. And there was the English version, they had like 150,000 players and stuff like that regularly. And so anyway, he inspired me to go away and look at it and develop it more deeply, the idea of the game, because obviously, I say originally it was very simple. So then I went away, and I'm a voracious reader, which is when I came across like the book Hooked, and I got myself loads of books all to do with tech startups and stuff like that. And I spent 4 months designing and developing this game. So what occurred to me is that the majority of quiz games out there are like text-based multiple choice questions. And I just thought, this is crazy. We live in a digital age of multimedia, and all these quiz shows are just a text question with a multiple choice answer. That's just like really shit. It's like
exams for school, like back in the day, where it's just like, there's like written one question and there's like lines, or maybe there's like boxes to tick, and it's like, it's just like same model that's been used since paper and pen.
Well, if you look into the history of multiple choice questions, they're actually engineered to help people pass tests.
Yeah.
Because the reality is you'll have 4 questions and 2 of them will be ridiculous answers.
Yeah.
So that brings you down to a 50-50. So I don't see how that's engaging or entertaining personally myself.
Yeah. So, and also, like, I actually remember when we had multiple choice questions in school, I realized that you don't have to really think that much about the question.
Yeah.
You just have to look at the answers and then use kind of examiner psychology.
Yeah.
Like, imagine you're in the examiner's shoes and you're making the answers.
Yeah.
And then, like, it's, one trick that is in almost all multiple choice questions, or any good multiple choice question probably should use it, is there's one that really looks like the answer. Yeah. And is the obvious product of an obvious error
like
that
a real wordy answer that's sort of, and all the rest are just like a couple of words.
Like, I'm smart, I'm going to do that word.
And then it's always not that one.
Yeah.
And then, as you say, there's usually 1 or 2 ridiculous ones that are just sort of there for there to be more than 2.
Yeah.
And so if you sort of think like that, most of the time you can find the answer without really paying
much
attention to the question.
Just like reverse engineer the question.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I basically spent a few months looking at all these other apps and working out what the good points were and what the bad points were.
Yeah.
And I found it amazing that HQ, I understand that there was like a massive buzz around the fact it was live. And that, so like for older people, growing up where there was just TV and everything was linear and you had to watch things at certain times, that was really frustrating. Which is one of the reasons I don't have a TV, is because I didn't like my life being programmed at certain points of the day. And that is what older generation embrace about things like YouTube and that. Yeah, it's non-linear. You can just watch it whenever you want. So for younger generation, having something that happened at 9 o'clock was a bit of a novelty. You know, they're used to not having that. So
ironically, they've got the other way around.
It's become like again, and this is the other thing is with the connectedness of the internet, everyone's actually less connected. So for everyone to come together at a specific time and do a game together is quite exciting. And that coupled with the fact there was an opportunity to win money, again, added to the excitement of it. But so I looked at all these other quizzes and I worked out what they'd done, which I thought was a good idea, and then worked out the bits I thought were a bit crap, and then designed that into my game. So my game has a cash prize, but what it doesn't do, so HQ has a knockout system, which I think's really bad. So they start with 1.5 million players, say, and then as you go through their 15 questions, people get knocked out. So by the time you get to the end of the game, there's only like 100 people still playing. So after having 1.5 million people engaged at the beginning of the game, down to 100 at the end, I don't understand why that seems like a good idea. If just say they're using advertising in the game, how can you go to an advertiser and say, yeah, you know, we're going to have 1.5 million people playing it? If I was going to be putting my money behind the adverts, I'd be saying, but you're only going to have 100 left at the end of the game.
It's like you have basically one opportunity to advertise with 1.5 million.
Yeah.
And all the subsequent ones are going to be way less.
Yeah. So I don't know if you played it. What happens is they'll have like 2 or 3 or 4 easy questions, which are just like stupidly easy. You'd have to be from Mars not to get them right.
Yeah.
And then the next question will be like ridiculously hard. So they call it a savage question. So it's something that very few people know, but you've got a 1 in 4 chance of guessing it. So it just knocks massive amounts of people out, which is why by the end of the game, and they've had 2 or 3 savage questions, there's like 100 people left. So I don't want to do that. I want people to enjoy playing the game. If you get something wrong, you might know the next question. So I wanted a different way of the game working. So instead of having a knockout system, what we've got is a points scoring system. So as people go through the game, and this is the other thing as well with HQ, it's like 15 questions long. The whole game is only like 10 minutes. Now I know people like things in a short period of time, but for me it just seems like too short. And they run 2 games a day, so they have one at 3 o'clock and one at 9 o'clock in the evening. And I thought they're losing something here because they're engaging all these people that want to play a quiz, and there's only 2 moments in the day for them to play. So like after you finish that first game, if you've been knocked out, for me I'll be thinking, if there was another game afterwards, I'll be playing again afterwards.
Yeah, obviously, yeah, because like in a way, losing actually almost hooks you more than winning.
Yeah.
So not
well,
having
like
a follow-up
with all other apps,
just,
other games and that, you know, you play something and then like a space shoot 'em up or something, and then you get killed and you go straight back in for another go. Don't you? I'll do better this time.
Yeah.
So to me, I think their viral growth they achieved was astounding. But they just didn't design their game around keeping their players engaged. So they sort of lost the investment, part of it for me. So anyway, so what we've decided to do is there's 60 questions. You work your way through them. You either get them right or wrong. At the end of the quiz, the winner is whoever's got the highest score. But if there's more than one person got the highest score, it will come down to who's answered the questions quickest.
Sure.
So that we've changed that. That design's completely different. No one else is really doing that. The other thing we've done as well is we've got rid of multiple choice answering. I think that's awful. So we've incorporating speech recognition. So you hear a sample of a song on your phone, and then you hit a button and you just say the name of the song in. So we basically tried to bring it to a modern age.
Yeah, which is almost more engaging than just hitting the button. Because
I think so. And the thing is that, so however many questions you get right, you score coins in the game, and then they go into a tally that you add up. And then, so originally, like I say, we were just looking at like a cash prize. And then we thought, how can we make this more engaging for people? The whole investment part of it comes with the Quizl coins. So every game that you go and play, you're adding more coins. And then we figured that there should be a part of the game which is called the vault. So companies can then display their products, and then you have an opportunity to swap your coins for that product. So going back to what I was saying before about playing games for no purpose.
Yeah, right.
We've engineered into the game a purpose for you playing. So, and there's also the option, so you can go in the vault and there's endless cool stuff in there. You can go and have a look at it, you can like it, you can share it on social media and then gain more coins from liking it. So there's something there for the brands because it gives them a space to advertise and connect with a huge group of people and advertise their products in a non-advertising way. So rather than having adverts that pop up through the quiz, or like banners and all this sort of stuff, which I think just annoys people.
No one looks at it, everyone just skips it as fast as possible. Like.
So basically there's 3 rounds in the quiz and there's going to be a short gap between, and in that short gap there will be like an advert. I'm using that word, but it's not really an advert. All it is it's going to be an edit showing you the stuff you can win. Yeah,
which people will be interested in because it's not like, a random thing that has been put into my app. It's like, this is a thing that you
it's not
could
someone
potentially
trying to sell you a set of pans or a pair of Wellington boots or something like that.
Yeah.
It's literally it's a small gap where you've been playing for 6 minutes. So the quiz is 20 minutes long altogether, and there's 3 6-minute rounds. So it's just like a short gap for you to have a breather. And because there's a chat room there, you can chat with your friends as well if you want. You don't have to obviously look at the little link. But it just shows you, that these are what you could be winning if you actually answer better.
Yeah, and then also presumably you'll get like people who will just go into the vault just to see, like, oh, I wonder what I can win. Yeah, and so you'll actually it's kind of like
shopping.
It's like you have like a filter so that you're not just displaying it to everyone or even a targeted market and hoping that they engage.
Yeah.
If someone is there, like they're there because they're already engaged.
Yeah, it's their choice to go and look.
Yeah.
So it's not being pushed to them. So it's a more subtle way of advertising.
You can actually get what is there, what you see. Right?
Well, yeah. So you're not just looking at something. You have a possibility of winning it. So, yeah.
I was interested in the speech recognition stuff. Thinking about that seems to be one of the new technologies that's coming in with Alexa and all of this freaky stuff at the moment. Like, I suppose one thing, can you envision the game being played through Alexa, so you wouldn't even have to engage with a device?
Right. So to begin with, we're building an iOS version, so that will work on iPads as well, and an Android version, and eventually, at some point in the near future, we will build like an Apple TV version. So, how that would work through Alexa, I'm sure it's doable, definitely. But again, if you've got a TV and you're using Apple TV, I've not really looked into it to a great deal, but I'm sure it would be the same thing because Apple have a speaker, don't they?
Yeah, they all do. Yeah. What do you think about that stuff? Your whole
I haven't personally got one.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think digital assistants are the future. That's without a doubt.
Yeah.
I personally don't use Siri. I've only ever tried to use it a couple of times. It didn't work for me. I know people that do use it a lot. So again, at the risk of sounding really old, when I was younger, I had a ZX Spectrum. I don't know if you ever heard of those.
I have no idea what that is.
No? Right, so that was like one of the first home computers. It was built by an English guy called Sir Clive Sinclair, and it was like a little computer about that big, like a laptop with that screen, and it had 48K of memory.
48K, whoa! Yeah. That's like wow. That's
so when you looked at the games they used to produce on that, I don't know if you ever heard of games like Manic Miner and things like that. So that was a precursor to Mario. That was like a 2-dimensional platform game. But that game, it had 16 screens, I think. 48K, you're not going to get a lot.
Yeah, obviously.
It was all. God, it was so clunky, but it was really cool at the time,
Yeah.
But, I was going to say about him. Oh yeah. So, so they used to get all different add-ons, like hardware add-ons you could get. And I can remember when I was about 16, buying a speech recognition hardware plugin. And
whoa,
it was awful. You know, like that old robot voice. The old school robot boys. All I could do was make it swear. I'm going to try and keep it clean. But the only thing I could do was make it swear, and that was it. It didn't even really sound like what it was saying. But so it was probably like 40 quid or something, and then the idea was that you could program it to work with different stuff. But this is how far all this technology's come. It's amazing.
Yeah, that's unbelievable.
The fact that these things sound like a real voice.
What year are we talking? What we're talking about this stuff?
That would have been like 1984, something like that.
Right.
82, 84.
Wow,
like
yeah, so real early days.
Yeah.
Original Macintosh days, like.
Pre that.
Wow.
Yeah. Pre that. When, like, obviously way before the internet, but, there were, you've seen the film War Games.
Yeah, I've seen that. I love that film.
So like where they have like the connection to the network, and he's got a phone and he puts it on a modem, and it's just like the phone head sits on the thing and that. Yeah, and it was like pre all that really.
Wow, damn.
Yeah. So
So it was pre mouse. When everything was text. It was just text on the screen. And you just
there was no mouse. Yeah, you literally, it was just a keyboard. So you had like up, down, left, right.
Yeah,
just buttons. That was how you played the game. So I mean, the thing is before that you did used to have consoles. So there was like you had an Atari 2600, like the wood look one. So that used to have like the world's worst joysticks. Like if you brought those out now, you'd just get killed. So your thing would be moving around the screen, and you'd be like that to try and go up, and it just wouldn't go up. It would just decide it wasn't working. But it sort of added an added element to the game because you'd have like two controllers, and one would be broken where people had been doing that too much. So it was whoever could get the best controller would probably win the game.
Yeah,
so it was a different element to it.
It's amazing kind of how gaming has come across, and now almost in the modern age we have the two sides to it. There's the kind of app-based stuff that's kind of quite simple and repetitive, and then the other side, these humongously expansive online games that just are kind of like whole worlds in themselves, and that are continuously getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
And you can get so involved in that. I kind of had to stop playing games just because I was like, my life would get eaten by them.
Yeah, my life did get eaten by games for a while. And actually, you made a good point about how, like, when you play video games, like, you don't actually get anything out of it. Like, you can play them for as long as you want, and when you stop, you're no better off than you were before. No. And my back when I was super addicted to video games, my parents made this point to me that was, like, at the time, I was like, you're just trying to get me to stop playing video games. But now I'm like, it's an alright point, which is they were like, Dylan, like, if you had spent the amount of time that you have spent in the last few years playing video games, studying law, like, you could have a degree in law right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it is kind of, and actually, it's kind of a good way to think about video games, because I still play a bit of video games now, but, like, not too much, because I just do have that ever-present thing in the back of my mind. Like, I'm not, like, I feel like I'm doing something with my time, but I'm not. Like, I'm not going to be any better off, really, at the end of this than I was when I sat down.
But again, it comes back to that investment thing, doesn't it? Is that, once you start playing a game, you become invested in it. Like I'm sure you probably remember nearer to now, Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah.
So that was in an age where you couldn't save games.
Did it used to like spit out like a code sometimes?
Not even Sonic
even before
didn't.
that.
Sonic didn't. So basically, to play Sonic the Hedgehog all the way through took about 3 hours. So you'd like, I used to love Sonic the Hedgehog. We used to play it after coming back from clubbing. It was very much a social thing. And you'd sort of like take turns having a go, sort of. But the thing is that quite often I think you could pause it. There was a way you could like pause it between rounds, but if you turn the machine off, that was it. And I can remember being at a friend's house one night, and everyone wanted to go out for a walk in the middle of the night, as you do. And they'd spent like 2 hours working their way through the game, so they like paused it. And then as everyone was going out for a walk, one of my mates unplugged it quickly, so just basically lost 2 hours. When they came back, they went to turn it on, and they were like, "Oh no!"
Oh yeah.
So yeah, it's I don't know. My daughter does a lot of online gaming. It's not something I've done. I've never been years ago, I was into like computers and consoles and stuff. But I don't know. I used to play the Wii a lot.
Oh yeah, I had a Wii. I love the Wii. The Wii was really good.
Yeah,
it had a lot of really good games.
I think what the Wii had going for it was, again, it made it sociable, didn't it? It was quite...
Yeah.
It was very much like an after the pub thing to play, wasn't it? You know, the graphics were like deliberately poor.
Yeah.
I think it had a similar appeal to like Minecraft.
Yeah.
You know, it's that playability. I think with a lot of things, again, going off a bit of a tangent, it's like horror movies. I was talking to my daughter about horror movies the other day, and she's saying, she doesn't really like watching like new horror movies and that because they're too scary. And I was like, they're not really that scary. I was like, they spend loads of money on effects and graphics and that.
Yeah.
But if you actually look at really old horror movies, when they didn't have all of that CGI and that, it was all about the script and the storyline, and they were actually a lot more scary.
Yeah.
Because they had to work. Well, another parallel was like with the Spectrum with the 48K, because they only had a small amount of memory. Their games had to be coded so much better and work that much smoother and be less buggy because the constraints that you had. And I think that's a problem to a large degree of modern society, is that, you know, the tools that you have to use make it a lot easier to be sort of crap. Do you know what I mean? You can plaster over stuff with special graphics and all this stuff. Yeah. And that the gameplay and things like that in games gets lost.
Sure. Exactly, yeah. And like I even like funnily had an example of that. I watched the sort of live action adaptation of Ghost in the Shell recently. Right. And I absolutely love the anime. Ghost in the Shell is great. Everyone should go and watch it. And the movie is bloody amazing. But then, like, sort of, with this sort of live action adaptation, I went into it being like, look, it's made by Americans. It's going to be an Americanized action movie. That's cool. At least there's going to be, you know, they're going to mess up the plot probably, but at least there's going to be like explosions and loads of CGI and cool fight scenes, you know, and so like whatever, you know. And then what actually happened was, there was a slightly disappointing lack of explosions and cool fight scenes. Right. But also, B, like, just, I feel like the people went into the movie thinking what I was thinking. They went in literally thinking everyone's expecting a crappy American CGI action remake. Yeah. So, let's just put no effort into the script or the plot at all, because we can lean so much on technology, and that actually made it, like, way worse, because it wasn't just like, kind of a cheesy, corny plot. It was actually like, this is just so banal. There's nothing to it. And like, it's just because like we have so much stuff that you can lean on technologically that people don't think through kind of the other aspects of it. I think another good example was ages ago while I was traveling. I was kind of trying to get games on. I had this tablet I was using while I was traveling because I didn't really want like a laptop around with me. I wanted to get some sort of games on it just for like when I'm on coaches or blah blah blah. Yeah. And I kept going through the store and downloading all these games and sort of playing them a bit and then being like, but this game's just so shallow. And then uninstalling it. And I ended up actually downloading an emulator for Civilization 2. And, cause like Civilization 2, it has, like, the graphics are horrific by modern day standards.
When was that?
That's like 98 or 2001 or something. And, or maybe even earlier. And, like, on the one hand, the graphics are terrible, the control scheme is confusing, but there's this massive, like, depth to gameplay because they had to compensate for all the terrible graphics and everything by making it, like, interesting to play, by having there be lots of, like, cool stuff you can do and variability and, like, depth to the mechanics. Whereas now in a lot of video games, it's like, we can make the graphics so amazing and the sound design so amazing and make it so quick and cool, but then there's, like, nothing more to it because they lean entirely on the technology essentially. Yeah, yeah. And don't think through the experience.
Yeah, and that's so. When I was first doing the designs of Quizl, I tried to stay away from achievements, achievement awards. But then my daughter persuaded me that everyone really likes achievement awards. But the thing is the way I see it is, I think the reason that people like achievement awards is because they want something from the game. And I very much believe that if I can give people prizes and coins and a chance to win cash, I don't know if the achievement awards are so necessary. I mean, I was planning on doing certain achievement awards anyway. So there'll be achievement awards for things like if you play every game of the week, if you play every game of the month, and what I'm hoping to do is I want to try and get a travel agent on board. And what we're planning on doing is giving users the opportunity to win a holiday by being the person that plays the most games in a year. So you literally just whoever's our biggest fan will get a free holiday.
That's pretty cool. That's an interesting award. I think I could probably, if there were a few other games that if they had implemented that, I probably would have had some holidays.
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting that kind of idea of the video game world and the real world actually kind of crossing over, and what new potentials can be released through that.
Well, this is the thing. As I've looked into it more, marketing. Obviously through trying to build traction for the app and that, I've been doing some Facebook ads and stuff like that, and it's just. The digital world is just saturated with adverts, and people are just really, people have got ad fatigue, and people just aren't really impressed by adverts. They don't click on them. They almost don't see them. It's almost like blindness, like ad blindness. And I think the time is right now for a different way for brands to interact with people.
Definitely, yeah.
So Quizl basically gives brands an opportunity to build a community around their brand. So, it gives people an opportunity to like their products, go to their website, and they can also interact with players. So if they've got something new coming out, they can ask people to comment on it, what they like about it, what they don't like about it. But through their choice, then it's not being put in their face. It's not when they turn their Facebook on that's in their face. It's a choice they make to do that. So, yeah, I think it can make a big difference, definitely.
It's really this new thing in the world of marketing, and I'm not that clued in on marketing, but I know, in the old 20th century model where pretty much you put up your content and people look at it, and then you get sales.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's so much more like everything. It's multi-directional, and the feedback can happen, and these communities can be created, as you say, but then also people can have adverse reactions to bad ad campaigns and really take down a brand, and they have nothing they can really do about it. There was that Pepsi campaign a couple of years ago. I think it was a couple of years ago.
A year and a bit ago or 2 years ago with with Caitlyn Jenner or something. No, not Caitlyn Jenner. One of the Kardashians or something.
Kind of do you know the one I'm talking about? It portrayed
it was like a riot or a political protest or something. You
kind of had on one hand the protesters or the rioters, and on the other hand all the police, and then it kind of culminated in this moment where one of the Kardashians,
one of the Kardashians,
handed a Coke bottle to one of the police members, and then it was everything was fine. A Pepsi bottle, rather. Handed a Pepsi bottle to one of the cops, and then everything was fine. And it was just reacted to online. People were like, "What the fuck is this?"
It's so ridiculous.
This is so cheesy. And I think it was coming right in the wake of Trump's election. There was a lot of kind of Me Too stuff in the air, and the women's marches in America and here. And it seemed like they were trying to kind of ride that wave, but it just seemed too unashamedly capitalistic. Yeah. It was we're going to throw all of the actual, the meaning of this thing away. Yeah. And just give you a cut.
Yeah, they just probably completely lost the point of the riot in the first place.
Yeah. It's who turns up to a riot with a bottle of Pepsi? Why is that? How is that your thing that you would think to bring to a riot? What if I get thirsty?
And maybe it might have worked better for them if someone made a petrol bomb out of the Pepsi.
Yeah.
Maybe that might have worked.
Thrown it into the White House.
Yeah, literally.
Pepsi, the revolution.
A bunch of people I knew did sort of make edits of the video where they sort of cut it so they're so that it did look like Caitlyn Jenner took the bottle of Pepsi and then it, you see her taking this bottle of Pepsi and opening it, then it flips to a shot of actual police at some riot in Greece and
Yeah, that probably would have worked better for them, but I try and stay away from modern advertising if I can. So I haven't got a TV. Stopped watching TV about good 15 years ago.
Wow, that's quite a while.
Was there anything that kind of inspired that? Was there one moment where you were like, fuck this?
Right, so again, going back to what I was saying about what people did with resources years ago, when I was a kid, just make myself sound really old saying some of this stuff. So when I was a kid, originally there was like 3 channels. There was BBC One, BBC Two, and ITV.
Oh yeah. Even when I was a kid, there was only 5 because we took ages to upgrade to like satellite or whatever. But it was BBC One, BBC Two, Channel 4, and Channel 5.
Channel 5, yeah.
And
So
ITV,
I can remember like when Channel 4 was released, and everyone's like, "Wow, a whole new channel!" And then, like you say, Channel 5 came along, and that was in fact the beginning of the end. Channel 5.
Really?
It was when it got to 5 channels that you noticed that the quality started to go down because there was that many more channels. But when it was like BBC, and you watch a lot of it now if you find it online, and like the production values and just the quality of the footage, and that's really poor. But again, when you look at like the skills that went into writing and producing stuff, like, so you'll have never heard of this. There was, when I was a kid, there was a sci-fi program called Blake 7. And this is back in the day when the BBC used to like have sort of electric slide doors, which would be someone pushing the door.
Oh yeah.
And you'd get a noise as it opened and closed.
Yeah.
And it was all just very lo-fi. But it was quite well written and acted, and it was entertaining TV. You know, they were on a spaceship flying around the galaxy. A bit like a sort of another version of Star Trek.
Yeah.
And like all that stuff then was sort of entertaining. You know, there was something to it. And then obviously the more channels that there's been, the worse it's got.
Yeah.
And for me, the worst channel out of all of them is Sky One.
I don't think I've ever watched anything on Sky One.
Sky One is more advert than TV, isn't it? And the adverts are like really long, so you'll watch something, and then the adverts will come on after 5 minutes. Yeah, it's literally just started and it's an ad break. And then the ad break's gone for so long that when it actually goes back to the programme, you're like, oh yeah, that's what I was watching. Totally lost your thread. And I don't understand what their model is, but I guess people watch it. I guess they make money out of the advertising.
Yeah.
But, I mean, actually, that's a good point. This is literally what I'm trying to do with Quizl. So, years ago, there was a printing press.
Yeah.
That was the internet then. People used to get papers, and before that, there was town criers. People used to stand in the village and shout out.
And just shout.
And then there was the printing press. And then after that, there was radio. Everyone used to gather around the radio, and then you had TV. But TV's dead. Yeah, TV's dead in the water. You know? People have TVs, but they watch online content on it, and connect to TVs.
And plus, like half the stuff that's on the TV, it goes in BBC iPlayer anyway. So it's like it's sort of just like lip service. The fact that it happens to be scheduled for broadcast, like it's on the internet anyway.
BBC iPlayer and stuff. Yeah, so basically, normal TV is dead in the water. And then through watching HQ, I could see what they were trying to do. Basically, they were trying to bring TV to a phone. So it's actually like a quiz show, but the difference is it's interactive. So it's not like you're just watching a show, you're part of the show. Yeah. And that was definitely part of their huge appeal, was it's not just something you're looking at, you're involved in it. Everyone's involved in it. It's a social moment. Yeah. So again, like I said, that's one of the things we want to bring together. We want to create a social moment for everybody. But we're not having presenters because we're using multimedia content. We believe that content is the entertainment. And doing some research on Reddit recently, I've realised that the presenters, although they're sort of quite charming for a little bit, they can be quite annoying as well. Because what they do on their show is they do like shout outs to people. So they'll be doing a shout out to Susan in Birmingham or something. And no one knows that except for her. So everyone else is just thinking, shut the fuck up and get on with the game. I'm not interested in you doing shout outs to random people. And they tend to waffle a lot as well. And so we thought we're definitely not interested in having presenters. So we're literally looking at the media as being the entertainment. But ultimately what we want to do with Quizl is bring primetime entertainment to the mobile generation. So rather than people looking to the TV, they're looking at their phone. So, and the thing is it's a huge space. So HQ were operating in this country, but they've stopped operating because their numbers dropped off a lot. And I think the reason their numbers dropped off a lot, and talking to people, doing surveys and stuff for this app, I think a lot of people feel frustrated that it's a knockout system. And again, all these things I've talked about, multiple choice questions and shared prizes between everybody and all this stuff. So even though they managed to engage people, it's dropped off a lot, and they've stopped operating here. I don't know if that were their reasons for stopping here, but I personally believe that is the reason why their numbers dropped, because people weren't engaged in it. But it shows that there is a market, and that people are looking for that sort of entertainment. And if you see that TV can go to a mobile scenario, there's huge opportunities, not for just one company, for tens of companies, hundreds of companies, to create like a TV experience in a mobile senorio. So I see very much like a symbiotic relationship where there are other quiz shows out there. I'm not going to name them. I don't think they're great in what they're doing, but they are still running, and they are giving away cash, and they do have these quiz shows. But the way I see it is you can all exist next to it. Obviously, if your show's on at the same time, your quiz is on at the same time, that's a direct conflict, isn't it? But if you're on at different times, I don't see why there's not space for lots of people to be doing this style of entertainment.
Yeah, totally. And like, it also kind of, it sort of flips the sort of TV model of how you make money from a program on its head. Because what you kind of do on TV is you offer people entertainment, and the way that they pay for it is by watching the adverts that you stick between all the entertainment. And the adverts are all sort of generic, whatever. Whereas this is kind of flipping it around. You actually offer them like prizes. And then the way they get the prizes is by actually doing the entertainment. And so instead of like, oh, hey, like, you know, here's the carrot and here's the stick, it's just like, oh, look, there's like 2 carrots. Like, you know.
There's not really any negative in it for a user's point of view. You know, they can literally just play the game if they want. They don't have to worry about the coins if they don't want. They can literally just play the game. They'll be gaining coins. They don't have to do anything with them if they don't want to. They might just be focused on trying to win the cash prize. But at the end of the day, it's just about entertaining people. But it's also a way for the brands to connect with people, and people to choose to interact with the brand if they want. So it's not forced advertising. So
cool.
One thing that really pisses me off with modern society is if you go and fly post somewhere, you'll get prosecuted. When you leave your house and you walk down the road to the tube or go anywhere in the modern world, there's billboards everywhere. You don't have any choice whether you see those or not. You don't get paid. See, in my world, you'd get paid every time you walk past one of those adverts. Because that's what should happen. They're basically stealing your mind space. They're stealing a moment, and they're indoctrinating you with something that you have no choice or control over. So I just think billboards and just general adverts. The tube's the worst one, isn't it? You sit on the tube and there's just all adverts there. And I understand it's a great way for people to market their business. But the reality is that, you know, the way the human mind works is you'll read anything.
If there's words, especially if you're sat on the train for half an hour, you're going to end up reading them one way or another. Like sometimes you just sit and stare.
You're not even interested in.
Like sometimes you just sit and stare like at the tube map, and you know where you're going, and you just look and read all the station names, and just be like, oh hey, look at that stop down in South London. I've never been there. Like
the most kind of evil way, it is a great place to target people. If you think, you know, you got millions of people early in the morning or at the end of the day, they're tired, their faculties are down a little bit, probably feeling miserable that they've got to get on this cramped tube with all of these other people. It's like, oh, fuck this, my boss is being a dick. Oh, I wish I could go and do something else with my life. Why have I got to get on this train? And then you've got this humongous picture of Barbados in front of you.
And it's all indoctrination though, isn't it? Because the thing is that you might just look at it and not think anything of it, but then, you know, like in a month's time, you're thinking, where can I go on holiday? And then Barbados pops into your head. And you have no control over that.
No.
It's just wrong, really, I think.
I was in the tube the other day and looking around, it's like you look at the advert, if you look away, you realise you're in some grotty, shitty, grubby tunnel. And then you look at it and it's like, whoa!
And it's only going to get worse with, you know, like a lot of parts of the tube now have got like screens and they've got video
they've got screens and projectors.
We're not
for the
that
adverts.
far from everywhere being a video screen.
Which is going to be really bad for everyone's eyes.
Do you know, I was watching this YouTube clip. Hopefully maybe we can put it in the show kind of notes. But
cool.
It's like someone envisaging what the world would look like once everybody's got virtual reality goggles on. And it's like everything is a potential marketing opportunity.
Yeah.
Like you swing your gaze around and the bush, something bursts out of it.
Yeah, literally, your vision will be full of augmented adverts.
Right, that's the one, augmented reality.
Yeah, then that's just scary, isn't it? Let's be honest. And again, it'll be like pop-ups. It'll be an augmented pop-up.
Yeah, really, like on the internet, but just in your life.
I think the thing to do now is start designing augmented pop-up filter. So,
people will pay for. Like literally, is just like make the adverts stop. Like I'll pay you to do that. Like,
but again, I think well, the reality is the bigger the data bank that is generated about you as a person, you'll just be getting targeted adverts.
Yeah.
So it'll be less annoying than seeing adverts for things you're not interested in, but at the same time worse in a way because you're going to be more likely to interact with it. So like, you know, it's happening now to a large degree, isn't it? So the other year I had this coffee table that I wanted to sell on eBay because I just didn't want it. And I looked online just because it's like an old classic style coffee table, and I was like, I just wonder how much they go for. I didn't know how much to sell it for. And I looked online for this coffee table and obviously found out and then worked out how much I was going to sell it for. And then every time I went online, I kept getting these adverts pop up for this coffee table.
Oh yeah!
And it's just like, I'm trying to get rid of one. I don't want to. You know?
Yeah, literally. And then like I did that once, like because in Facebook they have sort of not too hidden away, but fairly hidden away. They have your data profile. You can go and see most of it, like not all the intricacies of it. You can go and see like all the stuff that Facebook has decided that you're interested in.
Yeah.
And you can delete it if you want. You can be like, no, I don't, like I'm not interested in that. Stop showing me this. So I went in and I was just like, right, just delete all of it. Yeah, just no more. Yeah. Just to see. And then like, obviously, you know, at first I was just getting absolutely the most generic adverts for something that like more or less anyone would want to buy. Just like Coca-Cola or something. And then, I went online and I looked up like, I think it was either a video game. I think it was a video game. Yeah. I looked at this one video game that I was thinking about buying. And then every single advert everywhere on Facebook was just for that video game.
Yeah.
And it was like, it was weird because it wasn't even like subtle. It wasn't even like, oh, hey, remember that video game you looked up? It was like you open Facebook, like banner, video game. Side thing, the video game. Like sponsored post, buy that video game. And I'm like, it's all that, like, what in the algorithm makes me think that like, oh, if he looks at the banner and he doesn't want it, if we put it on the side, that's going to make him want it.
Yeah.
But if he doesn't want it then if we put it in his feed, then he's going to want it. Like,
but this is the thing, is, you know, like banners and pop-ups to me are just a digital version of billboards.
Yeah.
It's,
exactly. It's the same thing. Like,
and like I say, there's just so much ad fatigue now. And I think people will start to really kick back against this.
Yeah.
And I just see the future needs to be different.
And it's like, I think it's sort of, in a way, I guess what Europe is kind of doing is building a formula whereby, like, adverts are, like, well, A, it's not really quite adverts anymore, but also B, it's like, it's automatic engagement. You're actually putting the adverts into, or putting these sort of advertising, I think would be a better word because there's no explicit adverts, into a formula where, like, people who are already there are expecting to see them, probably going to want to see them, and they're already engaged, rather than just sort of throwing them at people.
This probably may come across as a little bit edgy, but just taking the Me Too scenario, basically what's happening at the moment is you're being ad raped. Yeah.
Yes.
The difference is what I'm proposing is consensual
advertising. Yeah, that's a cool concept. Yeah. Like, actually, like, advertising that you have control over.
Chosen to look at.
Yeah. Which presumably is also going to be much more engaging than just advertising through banners and billboards.
The reality is click-through rates are going to go up massively, aren't they? Because people will be looking at something they're interested in.
I could actually get this.
Yeah. It's like, oh, I could get this. And it's like, oh, like, you know, is that a good sort of set of headphones? Oh, let's go, like, look at the actual company's page. Like, ooh, do I want this one? Do I want that one? You know, it's going to generate, hopefully, a lot more interest because instead of hoping that someone is interested in the thing, you know that they're probably interested in it to begin with.
Do you worry about how much data these big companies have on us?
So when you were just saying now about Facebook, I can remember, obviously this is a futility now, but I remember years ago just looking at this sort of scenario, and I thought, right, so I don't know if you're aware, like if you try and delete your profile, they've still got your profile.
Oh yeah.
So it doesn't go anywhere. You've lost access to it. So I thought, right, there's got to be another way to do this. So what I did was I went in and I just changed all the information on my profile to just stupid stuff, like interests and that. I just put just really bizarre things. My favourite quote, I think, is still on my Facebook profile, actually. Remember the Teletubbies?
Yeah.
I put my favourite quote as AO. Yeah, and stuff like that. Just random books.
Just to confuse the systems.
But obviously then, because analytics weren't what they are now, obviously I just became a sort of random person,
Yeah.
But the trouble is, like you say, now everything is based on what you look at and, your digital journey, as it were. So you can't. So actually, I don't know if you're aware of this, you probably are, but like if you live in a house, we were saying about targeted adverts.
Yeah.
Whatever you search for on that, in your environment and on this Wi-Fi browser, on this network connection, those adverts will get targeted to any machine in the house.
Oh, okay,
So you have to be careful what you search for.
Yeah, it's true.
Another way of looking at that is if you want to freak people out in your house, you can go and search for some really weird stuff.
It's
and then it will come up.
Come up downstairs instantly.
Yeah, I mean, I've already done that as pranks. Like, if I've ever, got my mate's Netflix for whatever reason, just go through and give 5-star ratings to all Nicolas Cage movies. And that way the Netflix just goes, this guy loves Nicolas Cage. All his recommended movies are just Nicolas Cage. You can just, it's funny how you can, and then also, you can totally game it. And then the weirdest thing actually, and this is sort of deep, is whenever someone else's Facebook is open, I actually, and they're not in, I don't go in and look through their posts or blah, blah, whatever. I just scroll their feed, because I want to be what has Facebook decided that this person is interested in? And then what does that say about them? So you scroll one person's feed and it's all pictures of people on holiday, or maybe it's just all pictures of girls. And I'm just this guy's a bit of a perv. He's obviously just stalking all the gal them on Facebook. Or maybe it's all sort of video game stuff, or maybe it's all news. And it's a weird sort of window into someone else's brain when you look at their Facebook feed. It's the digital soul.
It's not so bad your friends having a look at that, but just to think that your persona is out there.
Right. This is something that freaks me out. I think I got Facebook when I was 13 or 14 and so, a stupid young teenage boy experiencing hormones for the first time. And I'd said stupid and unpleasant and misogynistic stuff in chat messages and probably on comments on photos and stuff. And I don't know where any of that is. Some of it I can go through and delete if it's on my own profile, but there's so much other stuff. I think it would be interesting to see if in 20 years' time, when our generation are in more senior positions in the world, how many leaks will be coming out about stupid
endless
shit.
All the politicians.
The thing is, I think eventually people just become unaffected by it, because it's just the old saying about having skeletons in your closet, that will probably change to something more a modern term. But the reality is, who hasn't?
Everyone does. It's just how good you are at covering them up. And then with people running around sort of Donald Trump, it's kind of maybe it doesn't matter so much anymore. Maybe people don't care about it so much anymore, because it's it's openly come out that this guy has been using prostitutes everywhere he goes for the last however long he's lived. And the loyal Trump supporters don't give two hoots about that. They still think make America great again. It's
so there's a weird thing, because obviously England's got quite a unique psyche around sexuality. Right.
We're all basically squares.
Yeah, so like France, obviously you know France. So their president famously always has affairs.
Oh yeah,
and they actually like that. They think that's a good thing.
There was a great one with it came out there were these two scandals about not the current French president, the previous one, sort of semi-left-wing guy, became the least popular French president ever. Can't remember his name. He was the guy after Sarkozy, before Macron. But so two scandals came out at the same time. One, he was having an affair. And didn't affect his poll rating at all. It
Probably
actually kind of went up a bit.
Yeah.
And then another scandal came out that he only owns one pair of shoes and he wears the same pair of shoes every day and his poll numbers just dropped. So it's like he's cheating on his wife and it's like, And it's like, he only has one pair of shoes and it's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, that, in a nutshell, from my point of view, is why the referendum on Brexit was a bad idea. Yeah. When you actually look at what people actually care about.
Yeah, how they make their political decisions.
I'm not saying that the politicians are any better equipped to be answering these questions than the populace.
Yeah.
But they're probably slightly more informed.
And like, there's some great, there's some lovely correlations that influence elections. So one thing, if it rains, the left wing tends to lose.
Right.
Yeah. If election day is a rainy day, bad news for the left wing.
So what you're saying is right-wing people are more weather-hardy.
Yeah, right-wing people are more weather-hardy than left-wing people.
Is that because the left-wing people stay at home, or is it because the swing voters go, I'm in a bad mood?
Yeah.
Wet and cold.
Or, maybe the rain even motivates the really right-wing people, like, we have to do something about this.
Yeah.
And I can't remember, I read a bunch of, when I wrote my dissertation in uni, which was basically why sort of representative electoral systems are not good. There were a whole bunch of other correlations which are pretty funny. But yeah, like the stuff that influences people's voting decisions is just frankly quite silly. I mean, the obvious one you have is Ed Miliband eating the bacon sandwich.
Right.
Remember? Like 3 days before the election, like front page of the Sun was just Ed Miliband just hilariously failing to eat a bacon sandwich.
Yeah.
And that is attributed as one of the reasons he lost the election, like, because he couldn't eat a bacon sandwich.
Didn't vote for him? Or
he looks incompetent.
Oh, he just looks silly. It's just some guy and his sandwich is like falling apart in his hand.
It's the problem with having like an image-based media. Where, like, you do.
His consultant said, "This is what you need to do."
Yeah,
we've done some research and people like bacon sandwiches.
Literally, but that's sort of the weird sort of reality that we like. With media, we've kind of like, it sort of extrapolates all these weird underlying peculiarities of the human condition, which sort of sitting there on their own are fine, but then when people find a way to hack into it, then it's like, Like, and that's almost sort of what advertising is about, in a way. At least, like, you have like the super traditional advertising of the like Victorian era. It was like, here is our product. This is why our product is good, and here's a list of things that are great about our product and what you can do with it. Yeah. And then you had Sigmund Freud's nephew. I do not remember his name. In the States, he basically came up with the idea of like, don't appeal to people's rational judgment. No. Appeal to their sort of underlying emotional.
It was sexualization, wasn't it?
Yeah. And his big success originally was, in the States, women didn't smoke. Or, like, they did, but not in public places, because it was seen as unwomanly to smoke. So he just arranged for a bunch of, like, sort of socialite upper-class women who nowadays would probably be, like, you know, Instagram influencers. To, you know, to famously be seen smoking together at some big public event. And that kind of all of a sudden made smoking into this rebellious, actually quite sort of feminist thing for women to do. And then women started smoking in public, and that was a big coup for the tobacco industry. And that was and he obviously was like, you know, I'm not going to convince women to smoke through the health benefits of smoking, but if I convince them that it's like a rebellious act, then that's going to get people to start doing it. And ever since then, a lot of advertising is about like emotions. And I think the best one is perfume adverts. I love perfume adverts because, like, you can't advertise perfume, like, really. You can't.
Smell.
Like, yeah, okay, it doesn't, like, you obviously in the shopping mall when they can give you the strip and give you like a smell of it and you can actually there, but on a TV you cannot, like, it is not possible to advertise it, so they have to just come up with, like, it is just a series of images that are meant to, like, impact your brain in this or that emotional way, followed by buy the perfume.
Well, they're like, the original sort of brand image sort of companies, aren't they? Because, like you say, you can't actually get the smell across online or on TV. So it's literally about building an image of exclusivity, of value, wealth,
or like sexuality or freedom,
all that stuff. So that's
you know?
literally what they're selling to you, isn't it? Which is why they spend so much money on designing a bottle as well.
Yeah,
because if they just had it in a plain bottle, no one would buy it.
No one would buy it. Yeah,
guys, I'm going to run to the loo quickly, but you crack on.
Oh, okay, sure. Yeah, I was going to say there's a great story about product design and how it affects. I'm going to say what I just said again because him taking off his microphone probably made a bunch of funny weird noises. I'll let it out. There's a great story about product design, like colossally influencing, like just image, completely influencing consumer choice, which is, do you know Grey Goose vodka?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, so Grey Goose vodka is not very good vodka.
No.
I hate to like break it to everyone, but what happened was there was this French guy, he was making vodka, no one was buying it. It was pretty substandard vodka. And so what did he do? He massively upped the price and he got some really good product designers in to make the bottle look really good. Mm-hmm. And then they did an advertising thing that made it like upper class vodka, nice vodka, and it flew off the shelves. Yeah. The vodka was the exact same sort of budget substandard vodka he had been selling before, but just because it looked nice, because having a bottle of it on the table, it's all perception. And it's the same with, like, isn't the same with all alcohol? Like, there is alcohol out there that's, like, super, super nice, and they sell it in just a fairly, innocuous bottle. Yeah. But, I work in a bar, and there's also a ton of alcohol companies out there who, regardless of whether it's good or it's bad what they're selling, invest hugely in
brand design.
Brand design, yeah. Another good one is Jack Daniels.
Yeah.
Everyone thinks Jack Daniels is bourbon.
Right.
Just because they've done all these adverts which make it sound like, not without saying it, because it's illegal for them to say it, because for it to be bourbon there's a load of regulations.
Right.
And it has to be made in Kentucky. For you to call it bourbon, like champagne, like you can't, even if you're making champagne, if you're not in Champagne in France, or Champagne, or whatever they call it, it's not champagne, and hence Prosecco and blah, blah, blah. Same with bourbon. If you're not in Bourbon, Kentucky, and if you're not following Bourbon, Kentucky's bourbon regulations, it's not bourbon. But not through saying that it's bourbon, but simply through making all these adverts that kind of give it the image of bourbon. Loads of people out there think that Jack Daniels is bourbon, but no, it's Tennessee whiskey. Yeah. Which is crazy. And like, even working in a bar, I think my favorite one recently was some guy came in and was like, can I have a bourbon sour? And I was like, yeah, sure. And he was like, oh, just use like Jack Daniels. And I just like turn around to him like, Jack Daniels isn't bourbon. And they're like making his cocktail and he's like on his phone and he's like, holy crap, you're right. It's not bourbon. I'm like, no, it's Tennessee whiskey,
That's a weird thing though. I think most people, or probably me as well, I always just see all of that sort of drink that comes from America as bourbon. I've never really thought there's such a thing as an American whiskey, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I'm more of a Wild Turkey fan myself.
Ah, fair. I'm a rum guy, so yeah.
I don't drink it much these days. More of a gin these days.
Oh, cool, yeah. Oh, you should come to where I work. We're a gin bar.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we specialise in fancy gin and tonics.
Oh, nice.
I'll ask a question that's going to change tack slightly.
No, go for it. Yeah.
I noticed you wear that necklace with the on sign on it.
God.
Oh, is this a story? Yes. Come on.
What's the background of that?
I can't tell you.
Oh no! Can you make up a sort of abridged, like maybe leave out some details?
Okay. There's many reasons I wear this.
Yeah. Many. Okay. Give us a few of the more annoying ones.
I'll put you on the spot.
I have an interest in many different religions. When I was a teenager, I was very interested in paganism. And then as I grew up, I got very interested in Buddhism. And then more recently, I've become very interested in Hinduism. And well, the shortened version, without going into too much detail, is I had a vision where Krishna came to me in a vision.
Oh, wow.
And it lasted for about 15 minutes. And basically didn't speak to me at all, just emanated love at me.
Cool.
You know when you see one of those old pictures of a deity with like rays coming out of
it?
It was like that. And it
Sweet.
just basically just gave me love.
Cool.
And just showed me that the only important thing in life is love. Nothing else matters. And that basically love is light, and darkness is nothing more than the absence of love. And that literally is all you need to know about life.
Cool. Wow. Yeah, that's
a pivotal moment for me in my life. I was pretty clued up on this already, but to be shown it in that way was a very special thing. But yeah.
Cool. Wow. Well, that's a pretty sweet story. Pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty
I've
good.
spoken to quite a few Hindus, and I've told them that Krishna came to see me, and they're all like, "What?"
Have you been to India?
No, not yet. Not yet. In fact, you know how many times I get asked that? Because every time someone sees this, they're like, by the way, in case for the audio, I've got an symbol on my neck. We should say that's what we're talking about.
Oh yeah, no.
What are they talking about?
Yeah. That's we got to remember that it's not just video. There is
an symbol. What was I saying? I've spoken to a lot of Hindus, and whenever people see this, they always say like, "Oh, have you been to India?" And I always say, "Not yet," because I will be going at some point.
Although that's almost more interesting of an answer, at least in this country, because I mean, not so much in this country, but among the people I hang out with, like I know many a man who's been to India. Like,
right?
It's like I will yourself and wear the symbol.
But I'll probably hopefully go there when we expand Quizl into India.
Cool, yeah, that'd be good.
I'm quite looking forward to it. I mean, we're planning to launch in the UK and America this year.
Sweet.
And obviously taking it to other English-speaking countries would be quite an easy thing to do.
Change up the music.
I like a challenge in life. And obviously one of the biggest markets in the world is China. My business partners speak fluent Chinese. And so I see that as a great challenge. It's a huge market. I have no idea how I'd work out the media for that. I'd have to have someone to do that, because obviously I don't know anything about Chinese songs or movies or anything. But again, likewise, India is a huge market.
Cool.
And a great challenge. So I definitely see Quizl being a globally scalable brand. And I think there's not anywhere on the planet people don't like music, movies,
and also have phones.
Images. And have phones, exactly.
So, what kind of music is it? Just all kinds of music, or
it will? So to begin with, it will be. It will just be quite generalised to begin with. So it will cover all age groups, from modern music right through to like really old music. Obviously, it's a tricky thing, because obviously I don't want to put too much of one thing in. If I have too much new music, then people that are a bit older playing it will be like, "What on earth is that? I have no idea what this is." So the premise for the game is generally that it's all well-known stuff.
So it's all stuff that people have a chance of knowing.
Right? Just sort of, there'll be a lot of sort of classic music, not classical, but classic music in there. And the thing is that you think how many times you hear a record that's like a really well-known record, and you think, "I know this," but then can you name it?
Oh yeah, so many.
Probably 90% of music, and obviously some people are more into it than others. But so what I want to create, and the same thing with the movies, is just everything, all the questions. I want it to be stuff that people like hear or look at, and they think, "I know that, but I can't bloody remember the name of it." So I want that sort of internal annoyance with yourself that you don't know. You're not good enough, if you know what I mean. That you can't remember what it is. What I don't want is people to play the game and just think, "I don't know that. I don't know that. I don't know that," because that's not engaging.
Just boring. Although I was thinking, like, in a weird way, even though we've just been sort of like slagging off big data, it could be cool to find out, like, which people who listen to what. Because obviously, if someone is like bang 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 getting all of the rock songs, and then like some house music comes up and they like always get it right and they never get it, and so it's like, and then if you were to sort of gather all that data, you could start to see like which music communities interact and how. So you might find out, say, like, oh hey, lots of people who listen to hip hop also listen to, say, punk, or hey, lots of people who listen to like, jazz and blues also listen to, say, like, garage. And like, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if gathering people's data is a thing that you do or don't want to do, but that could be an interesting possibility.
There definitely will be analytics tied in with it, because you need that just to monitor how the game's going, how people are interacting with it, and how you can improve it, and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But so I said to begin with, it will be quite sort of generic. How the flow of the game goes. But then as we sort of progress and develop the game, there will be specific genres of types of music. So there'll be certain quizzes which will be focused on different genres of music.
Oh, okay, yeah. So if you listen to, say, nothing but heavy metal, and you reject all forms of music that aren't heavy metal, you can just do the heavy metal quiz, which is going to have a lot more.
There will be specific ones for that. Yeah. So.
Cool.
Are you targeting any particular age groups?
18 to 34-year-olds is our target. But the thing is it has appeal across the whole spectrum.
Yeah, anyone who listens to music really should be able
So we've done research into our target market, our target customer, and 18 to 34-year-olds, they in gaming, on revenue for gaming, they do 65% of the spending, and they also do 61% of the gaming, of the actual play.
Yeah.
So cool. I have no trouble imagining that.
But I remember being like 16, 17 playing games and be like, Mama, can you buy this? And like, no.
Yeah.
And then when I finally got some money on a card and I'd like bought loads of shit in League of Legends.
But they're also, they're the ones that are most engaged in the digital world. They're also the ones that are most looking for something new and exciting, and are constantly looking for like the next new app. So from our point of view, it makes sense.
What are your thoughts on the younger generation and the way they're interacting with technology, like kids, for example, and even...
It's like everything, isn't it? There's good and bad in everything. Like I say, I grew up with a 48K computer that just, there was games on it. There was no possibility really of learning how to code stuff. The coding language then was a thing called BASIC, which by its very definition was very basic.
Wasn't ones and zeros, was it?
No, but it was like the next one from that. I think it was, it wasn't very advanced. And I wish, looking back now, I wish I'd actually got into coding at an earlier age. But like when I was at school, our computer class, they had, have you heard of BBC computers? So at the same time as Spectrums, I'm guessing the BBC brought out these computers, which seems really random now. They were like huge, great big things with a keyboard. There weren't really any games for those, and they were pretty much aimed at schools to teach computers. But like, you know, they'd teach you to do a bit of coding where it just flashed your name on the screen and that was it. There was no... it didn't really inspire you to sort of follow it as a career. But I wish I had persevered with that, but I didn't.
Do you think coding is really a kind of one of the most valuable skills?
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt, yeah. When my daughter was growing up, I was very much trying to push her in that direction. And she used to do really well with it. I tried to buy her a Raspberry Pi, but she wouldn't have it. I think it's a massively valuable skill, but ultimately in life, everyone does what they want to do. Well, they should be doing what they want to do.
Yeah.
So she's very artistic, so I've tried to push her in that direction now. She wants to do psychology, but I'm like, no, it's about art. She's like really talented with art. So, but ultimately, the most important thing is doing what you want to do, isn't it?
Yeah.
But for young people, I think it's a scary world. You know, it's amazing. The technology is amazing, and the tools it gives you, and the opportunities opens is absolutely amazing. But it's equally scary, like you were saying about growing up in a digital age, where your life is just there for everyone to see. I think in a way I was quite lucky growing up when I did, because it wasn't till even in the year 2000 these networks didn't exist. It's you know, I was talking to my wife about it, you know, like the iPhone is 12 years old?
Yeah, I remember when it came out.
12 years.
And
you know, going back before that, there was a period around 2000, I had a recording studio with some friends, and we used to go out video mixing in clubs. Spent about 15 years video mixing in clubs. And we had, when we first started doing video mixing, we used to use a video mixer and VCRs. video. I had like sort of about 1,000 videos at home. And we used to use that, and then eventually we used DVDs, and then we used to use old computer consoles and mix those in and stuff. So it was all very sort of, again, like I was saying before about when you're at the beginning of something and your resources are limited, you'll just use whatever you can get your hands on.
Yeah.
So there used to be like some VJ applications on PlayStation 1 that we used to use and stuff like that, and then mix it in with video and other graphics. So we'd have sort of about 4 different sources. Yeah, we used to love it. Probably if you looked at it now, you'd think, what a mess that looked like, with HD and stuff like that. But yeah, even then, and that was around 2000, there was no networks. Not like there is now, The bank probably had like a paper file on you, in a filing cabinet. You didn't go in a bank and give someone your card and then they've got your whole history up, every house you've lived at. And that depth of information is, to me, quite scary. And as much as it gives us, I just find it quite scary that, that your life is there, and any mistake you make or anything that, maybe you wish you hadn't done, it can never be erased. It's just there.
Yeah, and that's actually really crazy, because I read a thing that said, like, we have a huge knife crime problem in London. I mean, maybe it's not colossal compared to somewhere, say, like Caracas, Venezuela, but we do have a knife crime problem. And there's a bit of a sort of issue, which is, like, no one's really sure why. Because, like, okay, there are gangs, whatever gang really means, but there's always been gangs, Why is knife crime a problem now? Then it's like, there's, like, drugs, but there's always been drugs. Like, why is that a problem now? And actually what some people are saying, which is very interesting, is that a big reason for the knife crime problem is social media. Is that basically, like, if you're living, like, if you're a young person, if you're like, say, 14, 15, you're living in a rather deprived area, and then something happens to you that's very embarrassing, specifically someone embarrasses you a lot, and they record it, and they post it on social media, instead of just being this bad thing that happened in your life, it's like there is a permanent record of that thing happened, and anyone can see it whenever they want it. Everyone knows, and they can watch it as many times as they want. And basically, like, to a 15-year-old in those circumstances, it's a hell of a lot more enraging than it otherwise would be. And so that public is humiliation. Yeah, that kind of unbelievable public humiliation that was not possible before, that is now possible with social media, motivates the victims of that humiliation to get a knife and go and stab the person who did it to them. And so in a way, like, that's an actual obvious direct link between, like, the technological power of social media, data, and the internet, and then, like, real world consequences of people motivating people to kill each other.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
So everything online, certainly say on Facebook or Twitter, has a big audience, bigger than you could have face to face. Like, if we're having an argument face to face, maybe it's us two or someone else in the room. But if it's on a public Facebook post, then you can have, say, for example, a school situation, everyone seeing it and liking the comments here and there and kind of getting it on. It's conducive to revving people up, I think. And I certainly, there were fights in school that I saw, one in particular I can think of, that just came from this ridiculous argument that happened between people in my year and people in the year below me in school. Right. Just all chatting shit about
online?
It. Yeah. And so it was kind of saying, like, someone saying, like, year 10s are waste, and someone being like, year 11s, you're pussies. And then it started going into, like, specific people would be tagged, like, Michael in year 10 is an utter waste man. And it just turned into this massive thing. And by the end of it, a guy from my year and a guy from the year below were like, right, I'll see you outside school tomorrow. Let's have a fight. And then what happened, they had a fight and it was filmed. And someone uploaded the video onto Facebook and it went viral around the school. And there was one point in the fight where someone kicked the other guy in the head. That moment got paused, print screened, and all these year 7s in the school who knew nothing about it really, but it had just gone round, were printing them, were pushing them on the walls of the schools with blue tack. And it's just like, this happened in the course of 24 hours.
Whoa, that's nuts.
Yeah.
Just this amplification effect.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the thing is like, you know, fights at school and that sort of thing has always gone on, but I can see how that would definitely fan the flames, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. Mm. Yeah, so it's weird though, isn't it? Because the thing is that this whole technology and the evolution of the digital world's happened so quickly. Literally, you could say in the last 10 years, really. Because so when you go back before that, I mean, when we had our studio, we used to have a computer, but there really wasn't much of an internet in the year 2000. It was there, but it was tiny. And I don't think really people appreciate just how fast this thing's grown. And, you know, I was watching, this is another contentious thing for you. I was watching a video the other day about 5G. Now, there's a lot of people going on about 5G at the moment. And the thing that shocked me is, and I can remember when mobile phones were, you know, was first a thing, and everyone was saying about the health effects of it. And really what's happening now is just that carried on, that the industry at the time did some checks, but it was all sponsored, you know, within. And they weren't really interested in finding out the health concerns. And it's like anything, you can look in any data set and find whatever you want. So they were literally looking for the stuff that said it's all okay, it's fine. And I saw a video the other day and it was saying about 5G, that they've actually asked, have they done any tests at all on 5G, and they've done nothing whatsoever. How true this is, I don't know. It was just something I saw. But
certainly believable. I mean, especially with technology getting rolled out, that it's going to be so profitable, because 5G is going to, like, from what I've heard, the idea is that it's going to be Wi-Fi connection quality everywhere in the entire city. Yeah. You can kind of see why, you know.
It's going to be as big a leap from phones that were in your house to having a mobile phone.
Yeah.
It's going to be like that. It's, you know, like, even though we've got the internet with us now, the speed differences and the Internet of Things, literally everything's going to become addressed and collecting data, and it's quite scary as well from the sort of Orwellian perspective. And like we were saying earlier about adverts being everywhere and that sort of stuff. It literally feels like, as a civilization, we're just everything's beta tested on us.
Yeah, we're kind of the generations that are gonna, like, we have to work it all out, and in a way, you know, a lot of countries sort of have caught up, and a lot of countries that aren't even as economically developed as us are actually, everyone still has smartphones, you know? So, but I think this generation of people, and I think specifically in wealthier countries, and also in China as well, are gonna, and really anyone in a developed urban center, we are now, like, sort of both the guinea pigs and the scientists, in a way that we're, like, sort of experimenting on ourselves, and that's been something that humans do. We do try and formulate societies based around this or that vision, but our just ability to do it is so accelerated now.
Yeah, massively. And that's what's scary, is you think they'd at least be trying to do some sort of research, not just to sort of winging it and going, oh, I'm sure it'll be fine. I was in a cab the other day, black cab, and I was talking to him about, like, the electric cabs and that, and he was saying, yeah, the thing is, he's saying that I could get an electric cab, he's saying, but I'm going to be sat on top of a bank of batteries all day long. He's going, like, the energy fields on that, is that bad for me? No one knows. And I was like, yeah, you've got a good point, really. I mean, it's a bit of difference between using an electric car and sitting on that energy field for 10 hours a day. And, yeah, he said he reckoned if he does that, his offspring could be like mutants.
They will be anyway.
It's too late, man. We've all breathed in all the carcinogens and been vaccinated, and, you know, this and that.
So it is scary, and like I said, there's a lot of benefits, but at the same time, it's quite worrying, a lot of the stuff as well. So who knows where it's going to end up? I personally, I was saying to you the other day, wasn't I? I think it's going to end up very much like Ready Player One, where everyone's online in a avatar,
virtual reality, and just like,
and people are just not really bothered about this reality anymore. We've killed the planet. As long as you've got somewhere to connect, that's
sort of my ethos. For, like, I'm just never getting virtual reality. I'm never going there, because if I do, I'm never coming back. And I know, I just like know myself. I know it, like if there was a Ready Player One style like virtual reality where you can do all this crazy cool action movie stuff, but it's like basically real. If I went there, I would never leave. I just wouldn't do it. Like, because why would you? Like, especially if you somehow got sorted out like nutrition and breathing and all that, so that you don't have to. Like, what would be the point?
Well, yeah, I think for that purpose, there'd always be a connection to this reality. But you know, we were talking the other day about that Ray Kurzweil book, The Age of Spiritual Machines, and I know we got interrupted halfway through, but something I was going to tell you about that book. So it's basically a book on the premise of all the different parts of a human body that you can change for like a cyborg part. At what point do we cease being humans and become a machine? But part of the book he goes on about by the time we can change our brains and our memory, at that point what we'll have to do is upload ourselves to a hard drive, change our organic brain out for a piece of hardware, and then put yourself back in. But at that point, you've just downloaded yourself as a digital version. Yeah. So there'll be the option for your digital version to live online, but not just once online. You'd be able to live multiple times, and so there could be a version of you that's a dog. There'd be a version of you that's a woman. You know, you could be anything you want. You could be a whale.
Yeah, you could download and copy your consciousness into everything.
Yeah,
and then you could reconnect all the different versions and be all the things at once.
Yeah, which is it's an amazing book. If ever you get a chance to read that, that's and that was written, God, I think in the 70s.
Oh wow! So some people really do call it like
Ray Kurzweil. He's a well-known futurist.
Yeah,
but it's interesting. It's it's a lot of the stuff that Arthur C. Clarke wrote about, and that is now reality.
Yeah, and you have the funny effect that I love with science fiction, which is that actually, like, there's sort of and this is actually true of all sort of fictional media, but especially science fiction, is that something that appears in fiction is usually a reflection of how the people in the world think about it. But then, because people in the world watch that, it gets sort of reincorporated into the world as well. So, like, fiction imitates reality, but reality imitates fiction.
Yeah.
So the most obvious one is the idea of the sliding door. Like you said earlier, like on the BBC, on like Doctor Who and on Star Trek, they had these doors that would like open when the people walked in front of them. Yeah. And what was actually going on is the two guys behind the doors, and someone would like cue them and they'd open it. And there's loads of great Star Trek outtakes where they just like walk right into the doors because the guys like responsible for opening the doors weren't paying attention. And so the thing is, like, the automatic sliding door was kind of invented by Star Trek because they were sort of thinking like, what's going to happen in the future? How can we make it really advanced? Like, ooh, a door that opens itself. How cool and advanced is that? And then we went and invented the automatic sliding door. Yeah. Because people had seen it in Star Trek and been like, oh, if you could actually make that, that would be really cool. Yeah. And so there's this weird sort of thing where actually sci-fi, science fiction ends up creating science reality. Yeah. Because people look at it and then try and be like, oh, that's a cool technology that he dreamed up. Can we actually make that,
Well, this shows you the power of manifestation. And ultimately everything, I read a book when I was, a young teenager called 100% Mind Power by Jack Ensign Addington. I can even remember who it was by. Wow. It blew me away. It was just a very inspiring book. And it basically goes on about how everything begins in mind. So everything, just like that glass you picked up there, at one point someone had a concept for a glass. And then there you have the glass. So literally everything that exists in society, in reality, starts as a thought. So if you understand the power of that, then literally just having thoughts starts creating them. Yeah. So I quite often conceptualize something that I want, and I'd specifically project it out into the universe because a lot of times it's something that I can't be bothered to sort of try and develop. So but for me, the best one that I ever managed to do that with was home delivery shopping.
What, you invented that in your head?
I invented that back in the early 80s.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Good job.
I obviously couldn't be bothered to take that through. I put it out there. It took a while. But here we are. We've got a Cardo.
You put it there. Do you know Nikola Tesla, the Serbian inventor, used to say that when he invented, he was accessing the cosmic library.
Yeah.
And it wasn't really him doing the inventing. He could just see it. And he could just go there and sort of like see the blueprint and bring it down and then make it into reality.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the connectedness of us all. And that was one of the parts of this book, 100% Mind Power. It just literally, there's a universal mind that we all have access to and we can all tap into. And like most things in life, it's the belief that you can do it. So the difference between people that are like really successful in life and people that are just perceived failures is those successful people believe they could do something.
Yeah.
That is ultimately the difference.
It's all that really matters, because like you can be
belief
super
and
smart.
manifestation. That's all it comes down to.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fascinating. It's almost cliche that the successful people always say, "I've failed more times than you tried," but that's the point, right? Is that they've had the vision, and so they go and they try.
So actually, that's an interesting point. So there's this other misconception as well that people look at famous people, like Steve Jobs or Richard Branson or someone like that, and they're like, "Oh, it's all right for them." And they look and they just see someone, and as far as they're concerned, they just suddenly were really successful, and it's sort of just out of nowhere. One day they woke up and they were a successful person. And what they don't realise is that every successful person is, like you say, has probably failed many, many more times than they did succeed. Yeah. But were just relentless. Yeah. And had the vision and the belief in themselves and what they were doing just to keep on going. And I think it's probably quite frustrating for really successful people that they're perceived as,
having some sort of magical quality about
just being
them.
lucky.
Yeah.
All that sort of stuff.
Talented.
Obviously, there is luck, but you make your own luck, don't you?
Yeah.
Again, going back to what I was saying earlier about taking every possibility in life, every chance to do something new.
Yeah.
If you don't do that, if say Richard Branson, instead of creating Virgin, just said, I'm just going to watch TV tonight.
Yeah.
He'd still be sat somewhere in Streatham in a little flat watching TV.
Yeah, of course.
Right. The difference is that he wanted to do something and he made a difference. So.
Yeah. And
go on.
Go ahead. It's like, it's all determination and self-belief. Because, being intelligent is great, but if you don't do anything with it, it doesn't matter. Being talented is great, but if you don't believe that your talent can create something great, you're not going to use it. And so, it is kind of all, in a lot of ways, coming down to sort of resolve and just belief in yourself and willingness to go on in spite of failure. Yeah. That in a way creates everything, but also on an individual level leads to people being where they are and reaching whatever heights they do.
Yeah, so it's a bizarre thing. So recently, my wife's a chef, she loves food. And we were watching on Netflix Street Food, this series. And it was about these people that sort of cook food on the streets in various countries. But it was like their life story as well, the sort of struggle and the tragedy they had. And it always strikes me as a little bit weird when people have like bad stuff happen to them and, their life falls apart. And then people always say this thing like, oh, and I decided to carry on. And it's like, I don't get it because you're going to carry on, aren't you? What else are you going to do? That's the only option. You've got two options in life. One's to kill yourself and the other one's just to carry on, isn't it? Yeah. For most people, option one isn't really an option. Yeah. So, I just find it a really bizarre concept that people are, I decided that I was going to carry on even after all that. And it's like, well, of course you are.
You don't have. It's not like a game where you put the controller down and
make yourself a cup of tea. That's it. I was just sitting in the corner. I'm not doing that anymore. Yeah, it's bizarre, strange. They have strange ways of looking at life sometimes. But, yeah.
And it's kind of like it's like the idea that you can't live without something, but then unless that thing is like oxygen or water. If it gets taken away, you're not going to die.
No.
And that's kind of the funny thing about, modern societies. It's like, oh, we're addicted to technology and we're dependent on technology and blah, blah, blah. But I think there was a good example when the NHS got hacked. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And all the computer systems of the NHS just didn't work for 2 weeks. The NHS didn't stop. They just went back to doing everything with paper and pens for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And so, there's this sort of bizarre way that we kind of look at the world now. The world is on this huge digital progression towards like virtual reality or like, you know, Blade Runner or whatever.
Yeah.
And, you know, it isn't inevitable. It's because we're doing it. It's because we, in our minds, are like thinking about the future and thinking about these new technologies and how things are going to be and going and making them real. Like, we could not do that. You know, it is the only reason that we're doing it is because we've decided to do it. And if we decided to do something else, if we decided to have a different vision of the future, we would go somewhere else, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, well, yeah. We've become dependent on digital systems ridiculously quickly. In 10 years, we've gone from not needing them to, like you say, like, you know, systems grinding to a halt if the system doesn't work. But I was saying earlier about how I really think like the next generation are just going to be in virtual reality, augmented reality, and not concerned about this reality. But I can see a generation further down the line kicking back against that. I can really see there'll come a time when, you know, the future kids will be like, what are you doing?
Yeah. They'll all be bored by like virtual reality. It's like, oh, you can have anything you want. It's like, well, what's fun about that?
Yeah.
You know, if you just have everything that you want all the time, then you just end up with like not wanting anything, and then there's no like reward to life. It's just.
Well, the thing is I'm a big believer in micro-macro relationships between everything in life, and also the secular behaviour of everything in life. Yeah, everything in life is a sine wave. Everything, you know, life has a progression. It has a peak and then it dies. And I think eventually this sort of digital world, if not mankind before, will come to an end. I don't think it will last forever. Not the way it is now.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we're talking about how social media has affected, like you were saying, about kids and stuff and fights and things like that. Well, if we keep going the way we're going, then social media is going to be starting wars.
Maybe, yeah.
You know, and look at Trump with his Twitter.
Yeah,
you know, it's,
we've got someone coming on next week to talk about disinformation and kind of like information warfare that's going on at the moment.
And so this is a scary thing for me, right? Because I know Trump's really humorous, and I do love humorous American presidents, right? So,
China!
Right?
China!
So the thing is, right, is that when it was George Bush, right, he was just quite funny. He was very funny. And I think he tried to be funny, but he was just so stupid in that he did come across as very funny. And I remember when he was president, I thought, well, it can only go up from here, because I thought, how could you have anyone more stupid than him as a president, you know? Yeah. And then we've ended up with got his name now, Trump.
Yeah.
We've ended up with Trump, and it's like mental, and you just think, surely it couldn't get any worse than that.
Oh boy, yeah, but I don't know, who knows who's...
But then I did hear that Kanye West was thinking about running for president.
Yeah.
It's like, really? You know?
It's like if a reality TV star could do it.
Yeah, I reckon Kanye could probably...
There's also the danger that you could end up with someone who's really dangerous. Yeah, so as dangerous as Trump may seem, imagine if you had someone that was really out there, and you know, because the thing is the world is a polarized place at the moment.
Yeah.
So there's no middle of the road. There's no, you know, everything's like left or right. Everything's right or wrong. So, you know, and things tend to swing. Like I say, everything's secular, so everything seems to swing left to right, left to right. So there could be a possibility that after Trump, America ends up with something quite left-wing and socialist, and then a lot of Americans kick back against that, and then the next person they pick is someone who's just...
Yeah, it kind of like the sine wave gets bigger and bigger and bigger as a wave, and then...
Yeah, and he gets elected on the premise that I'm just going to go and fight everyone. And they're all like,
we're going to win!
I really think that what we need to be trying to do is work out how to overcome this kind of tribalization.
Yeah.
How polarized things are getting. Right. And I think part of the root of it is just in the way we have technology. You have these powerful technologies that give you everything you want at your fingertips. And so people take that and kind of want to interact with the world in that way as well. It's like, I want everything I want right now. And then when it comes to something like politics, or in general kind of societal disagreements, there are people who have differing points of view and you need to come to some kind of consensus, but that's completely at odds with one-click delivery.
Yeah.
I want one-click delivery of my political program. And if it doesn't happen, then that's a real insult to the way I understand the world and my way of being. I feel like in some sense we're kind of like, the new technology has turned us all into really narcissistic teenagers or children.
Narcissism is a huge problem.
Yeah.
Scary. It's quite scary. Obviously living out East London, see a lot of that on the tube. I find it quite comical and scary and bizarre all at the same time. There seems to be no end of girls whose focus in life seems to be their eyelashes, their eyebrows, and their injected lips. And they're just sitting there on tubes, flicking through pictures of themselves. And, just shamelessly, like, taking pictures of themselves and then flicking through feeds of pictures of themselves. And, I just find that really bizarre. And like you say, it's narcissistic, you know. I personally have hardly any pictures of myself. And if I did have, I probably wouldn't very rarely look at them. And it's just very self-absorbed and narcissistic to be so focused and, just focused on what you look like.
Yeah. Or like how much money you made last month, or like, who your friends are, who you were seen with, or, but that's sort of, I guess, the model of a lot of how money is made nowadays, is that you have to sell people an idea of themselves. It's kind of like, you couldn't be this by buying our product or by using our service or by, this or that. And that's sort of like normalized in a way. It's not seen as, some people look at it and be like, that's not good, but it's not out of the ordinary simply because so many people do it.
Yeah.
And I think everyone kind of probably does it to an extent, but it's just goes back to the whole like technology just amplifying all of those random bits of the human psyche, which are fine on their own, but when you apply something like Instagram to it, it balloons into like a sort of personality engulfing aspect of yourself.
Yeah, massively. I mean, all this technology and these apps are designed to do that, aren't they? That's literally what they're about, isn't it? Even if they might have started off in a different direction, that's pretty much what they've become.
Yeah.
But you sent me on your email asking me about your special question.
Yeah.
Right. I had a conversation with my wife about it because my wife's way wiser than I am.
I'll just say what the question was.
Okay.
So what's one thing or that you would say to people, and especially young people, about the kind of world and the future we're going towards? What one piece of advice or something they should know?
Right, so like I say, I was having a conversation with my wife about it, and so she's a chef, right? And I'm veganish. She's not. She eats meat and fish occasionally, but we pretty much eat a plant-based diet. And she's also a macrobiotic chef as well.
What's that?
That's a Chinese type of cooking where you use 5 elements incorporated into the food. It's very healthy. Anyway, so she gets frustrated all the time because on social media, it seems that like vegans or vegan groups, they're like the sort of new age Nazis online, and they're the judgmental ones that they whatever they know is right, whatever everyone else thinks is wrong. There's no mid ground. You're either with us or you're against us. And she has a similar thing with the macrobiotic group she belongs to. People are very, very judgmental about their beliefs and other people's beliefs, and that generally goes through to all social media. You look at how many things you look at. You never really come across a discussion about something on social media. It's always an argument. Someone will state something and then everyone else is like, no, you're wrong. And there's no sort of mid ground. People are not prepared to accept other people's viewpoints. And so really, if there's one message I'd like to give to people about the future and digital technology, it's just acceptance of each other and accepting that everyone has different viewpoints. And no one's right or wrong. Yeah, everyone's allowed to be different. You don't have to all think the same thing. In fact, if everyone thinks different things, that's even better, because that makes a more interesting society. It would be shocking if everyone had the same beliefs and the same thoughts.
Yeah.
That would just be terrible.
Yeah, it sounds kind of like fascism or totalitarian communism or any kind of system that just dictates to people what to say and think.
Yeah, it's a shocking idea. So, yeah, generally that. And then the other thing that we decided on, which is really important to remember, is that ultimately we're just like a person living on this huge planet in an absolutely massive universe. And so what we actually know is infinitesimal compared with the knowledge that is out there. So as much as everyone's opinionated and think they've got the answer to everything, they actually know very little. Each one of us, there's a billion times more that we don't know than what we do know.
Yeah.
And so in every interaction with other people, it would be really good if people remembered that.
Yeah, that's definitely
just
good
for people
advice.
to be a little bit more humble and more accepting of each other. That is the key way I think we can change the direction that mankind's heading in. Because polarisation doesn't work. It doesn't work for anyone. You know, we just need to accept and celebrate our differences.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
Enjoy the fact that people are different. It's a good thing.
Yeah.
Obviously, no one... This is the problem with polarisation, is it drives people to extremes. So if people were more accepting and there was sort of like a general acceptance of people having different viewpoints, people wouldn't be driven to extremes. So, you know, you wouldn't have the fascists and, you know, the opposite end of that. You know, there would be more acceptance and understanding and more conversations and less arguments as well, I think.
Well said.
Cool, yeah, that's definitely on board with that.
Yeah. So the next time you're on social media and you come across someone having an argument, try and point out to them that they're both valid. Everyone's valid.
Yeah, these are all valid points. Most people come to think what they think in at least their own view, exercising perfectly rational.
Well, the ironic thing as well is you think how many topics or things there are in life that you at some point had a polarised view about.
Yeah.
And then later on, through your experience, you thought, yeah, I was really wrong about it.
Yeah. Like almost everything I've had an opinion about, I've later on realised, like, oh wait, that wasn't a very good opinion.
But that's the beauty if you're allowed to have different opinions and you're allowed to change your opinions. But can you imagine a polarised world where everyone had to think one thing? And then later on you thought, well, I was wrong about that. And you think, well, I better not say anything. I'm supposed to be thinking that.
Yeah, exactly. Just quickly, can you check the time on your phone? Because I do actually have work today as well.
20 to 4.
20 to 4. Okay, I think we should probably wrap it up.
I think that's a great place to wrap it up, really.
Okay. Definitely some good advice for everyone out there, everyone watching our podcast, and also everyone not watching our podcast as well. So I think we definitely...
The idea's out there.
Yeah.
Let's manifest it.
Yeah. Just spread the love.
Spread the love.
Gary
Dean from Quizl.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you, gents.
And yeah, so everyone watching, look out for the next episode.